pretty funny. Sorry. I love stories, you can tell.
We are on the record for hearings. North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for February 22nd. I am David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 30688 dismissed. Case number 30691 continued to March. Case number 30692 dismissed. Case number 30693 continued to March. Case number 30695 dismissed. Case number 29868 continued to August. Case number 30569 dismissed. Case number 30697 dismissed. Case number 30698 continued to March. Case number 30703 dismissed. Case number 30709 dismissed. And on the supplement, case number 30714 continued to March. The administrative docket starts on page 3 with case number 30699 and goes through case number 30712. These cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases on the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear on one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with moving to case number 30688. Application of Incline Bakken 2 LLC for an order suspending and, after hearing, revoking the permit issued to Phoenix Operating LLC to drill the Danielle 2635-23H well with a surface location in the northeast-northwest quarter of Section 26, Township 160 North, Range 99 West, Divide County, North Dakota. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30688. Case number 30689, application of Grayson Mill Operating LLC for an order amending the field rules for the South Tobacco Garden Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 150 North, Range 99 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units of said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 30689 on behalf of Grayson Mill Operating LLC. We intend on calling 3 witnesses in this matter. Ms. Amy Becker will be offering some land testimony. Ms. Catherine Henry will be offering some geologic testimony. And then finally, Ms. Kristen Elvig will be offering some engineering testimony. All 3 witnesses will be appearing by telephone and are ready to be sworn.
Ms. Becker.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Amy, by whom are you employed?
Grayson Mill Energy.
In what capacity?
I'm a senior layman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes.
Had your qualifications as such accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Amy, let's go to the packet of exhibits for 30689. Let's go to Exhibit L1. Please tell us what L1 is and then briefly describe what's contained on the exhibit.
Exhibit L1 is giving you a depiction of the proposed 2560-acre spacing unit we're here for today, and it's comprised of sections 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 150 North, Range 99 West.
Okay. And then let's go to Exhibit L2.
Exhibit L2 is a closer bird's eye view of the existing 1280 acre spacing unit. To the west, we have sections 15 and 22, and to the east, sections 16 and 21, both in 150 North, 99 West.
Okay, and Exhibit, mine says LX. Is that what you intended?
This should be Exhibit L3.
Okay. All right, let's turn to L3, or what we'd like to have marked as L3. And as you did with the other two exhibits, first identify it and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes, so this is our existing SCAR unit, which is a 1280 acre spacing unit, which covers sections 15 and 22, 150 North, 99 West. And in our SCAR DSU, we have approximately 92% working interest.
Okay, and then let's go to the,
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
the next exhibit will be L4. I apologize.
No, you're fine. L4, let's do the same thing as you did with L3, identify and briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Sure. L4 is our existing 1280 acre spacing unit, which we call our Orvis, and it covers sections 16 and 21, 150 North, 99 West, and our working interest is approximately 63%.
Okay, and then the next exhibit, let's have that marked as Exhibit L5.
Oh,
And, I'm sorry, go what?
sorry, I was corroborating. L5.
Okay, and then what I'd like you to do is, like you did with the other exhibits, first identify and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
This is the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit, which we're calling the SCAR XW, comprised of sections 15, 16, 21, and 22, 150 North, 99 West, and together our interest is 77%.
And I have no further questions of the land witness.
Any questions from the staff? Ms. Henry,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Catherine, by whom are you employed,
Grayson Mill Energy,
and in what capacity?
senior geologist.
And in that capacity, have you had an opportunity to testify before the commission?
Yes.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Catherine, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been previously marked as Exhibit G1. Can you briefly describe what G1 is and what's contained on the exhibit?
Yes, this is our structure map of the Upper Bakken Shale with 25-foot contours. I've highlighted sections 15, 16, 21, and 22 in red, and then I've also highlighted our type log, the Felland A1 well.
Okay, and then G2.
So this is just the reference Felland A1 type log. This log has a middle Bakken thickness of 38 feet, and the well in question is targeting middle Bakken.
So the target zone is only the Middle Bakken, or is target zone Middle Bakken and Three Forks?
Middle Bakken.
Okay. No further questions for the geologic witness.
Any questions from the staff? Ms. Elvig,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Kristen, by whom are you employed?
Grayson Mill Energy,
In what capacity?
senior reservoir engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Kristen, let's go to Exhibit E1. Tell me what E1 is and then briefly describe what's contained on E1.
E1 is a proposed directional plot of where we plan on drilling this unit line well. You can see it boxed in the black dashed line, and it's the well we plan on drilling on this unit line.
And since there's only one well, my question about whether it was both Middle Bakken and Three Forks was kind of a dumb question, wasn't it?
I would never say so.
Okay.
No.
Let's go on to Exhibit E2. Can you tell me what E2 is?
Sure. E2 is a wellbore schematic. We plan on drilling the 10,000-foot lateral well with 3 streams in the Middle Bakken.
Okay. And how many estimated plug and perf stages are you thinking for this proposed well?
60 stages.
Okay. Let's go to Exhibit E3. Can you discuss that exhibit for us, please?
E3 shows the typical reservoir characteristics we'd expect in the well we plan on drilling. We're, again, going to be producing out of the Middle Bakken. Our TVD would be around 11,000 feet. Bottom hole pressure, 0.72 psi per foot. Net pay, 38 feet. Porosity, 7%. And water saturation, 25%.
Okay, and E4?
E4 lines out our proposed forecast for the well, 1,800 barrels of oil per day IP, 88% decline rate initially, EUR of 479 MBO, 1,160 MMCF for a total of 672 MBOE. The economics were run at $70 flat and $250 per MCF with an $8 million well cost, which leads us to a $6 million NPV 10 and a 64% rate of return.
And Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of hearings?
Yes.
And in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Thank you, Kristen. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Examiner. We would offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? That concludes our hearing for case number 30689. Case number 30690. In a matter of a hearing called on a motion of the commission to review if a sufficient number of horizontal wells have been drilled and completed in the 2560 acre spacing unit described as sections 1 and 12, Township 152 North, Range 103 West, and sections 6 and 7, Township 152 North, Range 102 West, McKenzie, in Williams County, North Dakota, 8-mile Bakken pool that reasonably develop all portions of said spacing unit. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Oasis Petroleum North America, LLC. Mr. Examiner, I'll have one witness testifying, Greg Sandberg. I'll also have Andrew McLean available if necessary, but I don't intend to call him initially. Hey, Greg, can you hear me? All right, we're ready to go.
Mr. Sandberg,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
yes, I do.
Greg, can I have you state your name and tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Greg Sandberg, an employee of Oasis Petroleum, as a landman. Address is 1001 Fannin, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
Greg, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, they were.
And Greg, are you familiar with the with this? I'll call it the Kestrel spacing unit 112, 6, and 7.
Yes, I am.
And you've put together some exhibits relating to the hearing today.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Sandberg be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Greg, again, so are you familiar with the history of this, I guess, this spacing unit and some of the previous orders that the commission has out?
I am. Some of it predates my employment with Oasis, but I'm pretty well aware of things that have happened in the past, yes.
Sure, understood. And you're familiar then that there's, I guess, a drilling obligation or requirement in those orders that there be 6 wells drilled on that 2560. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And are you prepared to kind of discuss Oasis plans with respect to kind of the full development of this spacing unit today?
Yes, I am.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and move on to your exhibit, starting with L1, and if you can kind of walk us through what you have shown there and kind of discuss what Oasis has with respect to plans going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So Exhibit L1, locator map, just zooming in on the 152-103 sections 1 and 12 and 152-102 sections 6 and 7, the subject 2560 here. Going down to Exhibit L2 is a zoomed in view. You can see there are 6 wells there. One of those is drilled on a 1280, which is the second from the furthest east. The remaining 5 wells are drilled on that 2560 spacing. The south end appears, just from looking at it, that there is a slot for another well, at least one well. And then going on to L3, it's just that same view showing the surface constraints in the area with the Corps of Engineers flowage easement and Corps of Engineers owned surface. So Oasis does plan to drill at least one additional well in this 2560. We have it slotted for mid-2025. We are currently finalizing surface locations and working with gatherers on oil, gas, and water takeaway.
Okay. So, Greg, in your opinion, the 2560 should remain in place as is, and you do intend to develop that additional well on that 2560, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions for Mr. Sandberg at this time. I'd offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Greg, have you read the previous order in this dealing with the spacing is order 31-243?
I have, but I haven't read it.
Back then, Oasis testified that they plan to develop acreage in this area as part of a 10 spacing unit development program beginning in 2023 that will include build out of gas gathering and crude oil gathering infrastructure. Has that been done?
All of that's in process. The area is slated for development. The timing of which was presented before has altered a bit. The plans of the company, both on a drill schedule level and through the merger with Oasis and Whiting, there have been some changes to that schedule.
So that infrastructure development is ongoing at this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Wade,
You're welcome.
does Oasis have any objection to taking administrative notice of the previous cases that were in this?
No, not at all, no objection.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, are you familiar with which interval of the Bakken Pool these wells are completed in and the ultimate development plan? Are they Middle Bakken, Three Forks?
I'd have to double check, but I believe it's a mix of Middle Bakken and Three Forks wells. And then the new wells that we would plan to drill in there, or well, would be Middle Bakken.
Will the one additional well complete the development plan that you presented for Commission Order 31243?
It not being involved in that, I believe it will. As far as our full development plans, we're currently evaluating whether the best recovery is going to be with a single well or with more than one well.
Will you have to construct a new surface location?
We're working through the details of that, but it seems likely yes.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 30690. Case number 30691, application of Empire North Dakota LLC for an order authorizing the recompletion of the Walleye 328-1H well at a location approximately 155 feet from the south line and 2,500 feet from the west line of Section 32, Township 161 North, Range 78 West, Starbuck Field, Bottineau County, North Dakota, as an exception to any field rules and/or the provisions of NDAC Section 430203-18. This case has been continued to our March hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 30691. Case number 30692, application of Empire North Dakota LLC for an order authorizing the recompletion of the SMU 14-21 well at a location approximately 300 feet from the south line and 990 feet from the west line of Section 21, Township 161 North, Range 78 West, Starbuck Field, Bottineau County, North Dakota, as an exception to any field rules and or the provisions of NDAC Section 430203-18. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30692. Case number 30693, application of XTO Energy, Inc. for an order granting temporary authority to use the Nygaard Federal 13X-5A well, Nygaard Federal 13X-5BXC well, Nygaard Federal 13X-5B well located in a spacing unit comprised of Sections 8 and 17, Township 148 North, Range 96 West, and the Nygaard Federal 13X-5AXD well, located in a spacing unit comprised of Sections 7, 8, 17, and 18, Township 148 North, Range 96 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, as injection wells for a pilot enhanced oil recovery operation in the Lost Bridge Bakken Pool. This case has been continued to our March hearing. That concludes our hearing for case number 30693. Case number 30694, application of EOG Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the partial Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish two overlapping 1920-acre spacing units comprised of sections 3, 4, and 10, and sections 4, 9, and 10, Township 154 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well in each proposed overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Excuse me. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in case 30694 on behalf of EOG Resources, Inc. We intend to call two witnesses in this matter. Ms. Anna Morgan will be offering some land testimony, and Mr. John Schmidt will be offering both geologic and engineering testimony. Both witnesses will be appearing by phone.
Ms. Morgan.
Ooh,
Do you,
what did you say?
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Anna, you're coming in really loud. Are you real close to the, are you on a speakerphone?
We are.
Is that better?
Push it away a little bit.
Maybe turn it down just a little bit more.
Okay, how's that?
I think that's real good, so thank you.
Okay.
Anna, state your full name for the record, please.
Anna Morgan,
And Anna, by whom are you employed?
EOG Resources,
And in what capacity?
Land Advisor.
And in that capacity, Anna, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Anna, let's go to the packet of exhibits and very quickly tell us what Exhibit L1 is.
Exhibit L1 is a regional location map showing where the partial Bakken Pool falls within the state of North Dakota.
And L2?
L2 again shows the outline of the partial Bakken Pool along with the proposed two 1,920-acre spacing units
Okay.
outlined in red and blue.
Excuse me, I interrupted you. Let's go to L3 then, please.
L3 again shows our two requested spacing units outlined in red and blue. Our EOG's working interest in the red outline spacing unit is 72.3, and in the blue it's 68.3.
Okay, and then L4.
L4 shows the two requested spacing units along with all of the development in the area and all of the underlying spacing units. There are multiple underlying spacing units here.
And it also has the same percentage of ownership interest that you had on the previous map, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
No. Okay, and then finally L5. Tell us what L5 is.
Exhibit L5 shows two spacing units that upon approval of today's request, we believe these two units can be vacated. We don't have plans to develop these two units here.
Okay. No further questions of the land witness, Mr. Examiner.
Any questions from the staff?
Yeah, and I don't have a question, but I really appreciate you providing us with space units to be eliminated to try to simplify that area a little bit. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Goal is to try to get under 50 zones.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
John, state your full name for the record, please.
John Michael Schmidt,
And John, by whom are you employed?
EOG Resources as a senior geological engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
I'd offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
John, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been previously marked as G1. Identify G1 for us, tell us what G1 is first, and then briefly discuss what's contained on the exhibit.
Sure. G1 is the structure map for the top of the Middle Bakken, showing the two spacing units in question, 1920s in yellow and green. And then, like I said, a structure map showing the top of the Middle Bakken in subsea, which the top of the Middle Bakken is approximately 7,100 to 7,150 feet subsea in this area. And then the blue wells show the Bakken wells, the existing Bakken wells drilled in amongst the spacing unit and surrounding areas. Purple shows the Three Forks wells. And then the Austin 8-26 pilot hole is highlighted. It is then shown, it will be my next exhibit, Exhibit G2, showing with a type log, as the type log.
Okay, let's go to G2, and since you've already indicated what it is, just briefly describe what's contained upon it.
G2 just shows that the Middle Bakken, the Middle Bakken type log showing the Bakken pool is present under the lands in question. The Upper Bakken Shale, Middle Bakken, Lower Bakken, and Three Forks are all present in the area.
All right, then let's go to E1.
Okay, E1 just is our request for the number of wells. We're asking for one Bakken well for a total of one, or just the spacing well in each of these 1920 DSUs.
And E2?
E2 then shows these wells and our projected well paths at current time. You'll note that, and then there's a cross section that will be Exhibit E3. But that pad that we had, we were attempting to use the pad in the southeast corner, reuse the pad in the southeast corner of Section 10, but we're kind of surrounded by some wetlands, and expanding that pad wasn't an option, so we had to move over it a little bit to the west, and that's the reason we couldn't reuse that Austin 2710 pad. So these are our proposed well paths to fill in the white space in the two proposed 1920 DSUs.
And for the record, the two proposed wells, one is in a dashed green line and the other is a dashed yellow line, is that correct?
That's correct, corresponding to the yellow and green proposed spacing units.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit E3.
E3 then shows that that cross-section with kind of the well placements across that cross-section. In this case, our average interwell distance in the Middle Bakken would be approximately 1,200 to 1,600 feet.
And Exhibit E4.
E4 then shows kind of how these two spacing units and the proposed two wells will fit into our development in the area. We'd have some longer wells just to the east coming from a pad in Section 32. And then on the west side, we have two wells that kind of fill in white space coming from another pad. And then to the south, off of the same pad, we have an existing spacing unit that's been approved that we drill that red well. So we feel that these DSUs will allow us to fill in the white space in the reservoir, the undrained areas of the reservoir appropriately.
Now, John, on this exhibit, do you have as dashed red lines? The legend indicates that these are proposed Bakken wells in adjacent DSUs for future development. Has EOG at this point in time made application for the drilling of those wells? And I'm not talking about APDs, I'm talking about applications for spacing that would allow those wells to be drilled, or is that something that's going to come down the road in future applications?
Some of them have been the ones just directly to the east, the two red wells directly to the east, and like I said, the one going south off the same pad. The other two to the west would be new applications in the near future.
Okay. Now, you mentioned one, I'll call it the red well, going off the same pad to the southeast. Is that going to be drilled in a batch with the two wells going north that are before the commission today?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, E5. Can you tell us what that is, please?
E5 is just a wellbore diagram showing our wellbore design with plug and perf plan stages for the completion of about 55 to 62 for an 11,000 foot well.
And number of fracks, or excuse me, the number of completions you're going to do? Stages, excuse
Yeah.
me.
We'd be doing between 55 and 62 stages for an 11,000 foot lateral.
Okay, thank you. And then E6.
Reservoir data for the partial Bakken pool, showing for these 19, 20 acre spacing units, there's a estimated oil in place of 48 million barrels. And then that goes into all that data goes into our calculations on the economics, which E7 and E8, I have a separate one for each DSU, color-coded up at the top because we have different working interest in NRI in the two spacing units. So the same lateral length approximately on each well of 11,100 feet yields an EUR of about 864,000 barrels. This is 1.7% of the oil in place in that 1920. Net investment is about $9.8 million for a return on investment of 2.28 or undiscounted cash flow of $12,553,000. That's for the yellow spacing unit of section 4, 9, and 10. And then if you move on to Exhibit E8, shows we have a little bit less working interest in NRI as Anna said in the green unit of 3, 4, and 10. Still the same EUR, about the same lateral length, but obviously same well cost investment is the same, but return on investment is just slightly lower, and as is the undiscounted cash flow.
And then GC1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
It is, and we have EOG Pecan Gathering is our gas gatherer in the main partial field, and then it goes up to the Aux Sable plant just about 10 miles to the north for processing.
In your opinion, if the requested relief is granted, will it prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it will.
Mr. Examiner, no further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? That concludes our hearing for case number 30694.
Thank you.
Case number 30695, application of Wave Petroleum Operating LLC for an order authorizing Wave Petroleum Operating LLC to convert the Grace 1 saltwater disposal well located in northwest quarter of Section 29, Township 139 North, Range 99 West, Gaylord Field, Stark County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well for use by the surface owner in accordance with the provisions of NDAC Sections 43020335 and 43020388.1. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30695. Case number 29868, application of Spotted Hawk Development LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Van Hook, Bakken, Poole, McLean, and Dunn Counties, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 3520 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and north half of section 21, Township 150 North, Range 91 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 8 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 3520 acre spacing unit. This case has been continued to the August hearings. That concludes our case for case number 29868. Case number 30569, application of Huyon Family Limited Partnership for an order suspending production operations, shutting in the Flat Top Butte 31-3H well, and granting a change of operator for said well located in the northwest-northeast quarter of Section 3, Township 145 North, Range 101 West, Flat Top Butte, Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota, from Coil Dakota Operating LLC to an operator to be determined and such further relief. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30569. Case number 30696, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Green Lake and/or Blue Ridge Bakken pools to establish a 2560-acre spacing unit described as Section 3, 10, 15, and 22, Township 159 North, Range 100 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled in such unit. All interested parties, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Throne, P.O. Box 6590 in Sheridan, Wyoming, appearing on behalf of the applicant Phoenix Operating. I have 3 witnesses. 1, Mark Johnson, the land witness who is here. 2 others, Nick Daniele, the geology witness, and Brandon Allen, the engineering witness, that'll be appearing by phone, and I need to get them on. Brandon and Nick, are you there? Okay, you'll be in the hearing room shortly. Nick and Brandon, are you there?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Mark, would you please state your name and work address for the staff?
Mark Johnson. I work for Phoenix Operating LLC. My address is 4643 South Ulster Street, Suite 1510, Denver, Colorado, 80237.
And have you previously been accepted as an expert witness in petroleum land matters?
I have.
And are you personally familiar with the lands that we are discussing today?
Yes, I am.
I would ask that Mr. Johnson be accepted as an expert witness in petroleum land matters.
Motion granted.
And have you prepared or caused to be prepared certain exhibits?
I have.
Starting with Exhibit 1, would you please discuss the area that we are talking about today?
So Exhibit 1 is just a regional map that shows kind of our proposed units that we've been targeting over the last 6-8 months in between North Williams County on the divide Williams County county line.
Moving on to Exhibit 2, please describe in detail the proposed spacing unit here.
Exhibit 2 shows a proposed spacing unit of sections 3, 10, 15, and 22 of 159, 100 in Williams County.
And would you please describe or remind the commission the history of this area and why Phoenix is proposing the 4-section DSU?
Yes, in September of last year, we came before the commission requesting a spacing unit of sections 3, 10, and 15, and we went back and forth with, and it was finally rejected because there was concerns about stranding section 22 to the south.
And have you identified future spacing units that Phoenix wants to operate on this exhibit?
Yes, on Exhibit 2, it shows all the other units we've either come before the commission for spacing hearings, or proposed ones that we will be coming for in the future.
Are these in the area of the hearing yesterday in docket 30665 that staff conducted?
They are.
And you didn't show up because they've already seen Phoenix's plans, is that correct?
Yes.
Please explain the timing of this application in connection with the other spacing units in the area.
Yeah, we're currently drilling our third unit or spacing unit in this area. We have 2 or 3 more to go before we would like to target the proposed spacing unit that we're discussing today. Again, while we're in the area, we just kind of like to knock everything out that we can so we don't have to mow back a rig into this area.
Okay, using Exhibit 3, would you please discuss the ownership of the working interest in this proposed spacing unit?
Yeah, Exhibit 3 shows sections 3, 10, 15, and 22. Phoenix currently owns 30% working interest in this unit, and we have another 7.14% that we will be closing within the next 30 days to bring our percentage to the 37.28. In section 22, you can see the federal minerals that were under Fish and Wildlife jurisdiction.
And what is the next largest working interest owner in this proposed spacing unit?
Continental Resources at 18%.
And does Phoenix intend to cooperate and coordinate its activities with the other working interest owners in the area?
We do.
Has Phoenix made significant attempts to try to acquire a lease underneath the Blue Forest Service lands?
Yes, we have, and there will be no, per their statutes, leasing of the federal minerals under those lands is generally prohibited. Only if there's drainage to that acreage, and currently there is no drainage to that acreage, so they will not issue us an APD.
And also, did you prepare and sign Exhibit 9, the gas capture affidavit?
I did.
I would move for admission of Exhibits 1, 2, and 3, and 9.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Daniele,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yep.
Nick, would you please state your name and work address for the record and spell your last name?
Sure. Nick Daniele, last name Daniele. I work for Phoenix Operating LLC, address 4643 South Ulster Street, Suite 1510, Denver, Colorado, 80237.
Have you previously been accepted as an expert witness in petroleum geology by this commission?
Yes.
And are you personally familiar with the area?
Yes, I am.
I would ask that Mr. Daniele be accepted as an expert witness in petroleum geology.
Motion granted.
Have you prepared or caused to be prepared certain exhibits for this hearing?
I have.
Using Exhibit 4, please describe the structure of the Middle Bakken for the lands that are subject to this hearing.
Sure. This is a Middle Bakken subsea structure map. The Phoenix operating units are shown in black. The unit in question for this hearing is proposed 26,560 acre spacing unit in red. The Middle Bakken horizontal wells are shown with black dots. The Three Forks horizontal wells are shown with purple dots. and the general structure in this area is dipping from north to south.
Is there a dot on this map labeled type log?
Yes, sir.
And also, is there a line on this exhibit that identifies your cross-section?
Yes, sir. And the A got shifted a little bit. The A is actually it's the farthest west well. Sorry about that. So we go west to east, A to A prime, with the type log in the middle on the following slide.
Okay. Moving on to Exhibit 5, would you please describe both the cross-section and the type log?
Yes, sir. So A to A prime, from west to east, the middle well, easter B will be our type log, the reservoir properties below. The first track shows gamma ray, the second track shows resistivity, and the third track shows porosity. Approximate CVD for the middle Bakken in this area is 9250. Average porosity is about 7%, and average water saturation is 30%, with a gross average thickness of 49 feet.
I think you mentioned that at the bottom of this exhibit are the reservoir properties. Would you please describe those?
Yes. Those correlate to the Easter B111 type log in the middle. 9250 TVD, average porosity 7%, average water saturation 30%, and gross average thickness is 49 feet.
And BOI?
And the BOI factor is 1.5, which gives us an oil in place per section of about 7.9.
And
barrels.
is the middle Bakken president continuous across the entire spacing unit?
Yes, sir.
And if the application is approved, in your opinion, and an expert in petroleum geology, will waste be prevented, relative rights protected, and the drilling of unnecessary wells be prevented?
Yes.
Have no further questions. I would ask that exhibits 4 and 5 be admitted into the record.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Allen,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Brandon, would you please state your name, address, and who you're employed for the record?
My name is Brandon Allen. I work for Phoenix Operating LLC. My address is 4643 South Culture Street, Denver, Colorado, 80237, Suite 1510.
And what is your position with Phoenix Operating?
I'm the president of Phoenix Operating.
I didn't catch that. You want to say that over, please?
I'm the president of Phoenix Operating, head of reservoir engineering.
And have you previously been accepted as an expert witness in petroleum engineering matters?
I have.
And are you personally familiar with the lands that we are discussing today?
I am.
I would ask that Mr. Allen be accepted as an expert witness in petroleum engineering.
Motion granted.
Starting with Exhibit 6, please describe Phoenix proposed wellbores, a diagram for this proposed unit.
This depicts our wellbore diagram of what we would drill for this 4-mile spacing unit, depicting a 9 5/8 inch to cover the Pierre Shale. We would drill a intermediate hole section and drill that into the middle Bakken, land in the middle Bakken, and set 7-inch intermediate string. We would then drill the lateral and set a 5-inch flush joint liner, with the liner top being approximately 500 feet above kickoff point.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 7A, and we'll be discussing it in conjunction with 7B. Please describe what the idealized development plan would be for Phoenix if it could do it.
Yeah, so 7A depicts the idealized development plan that would show 5 equally spaced 4-mile laterals, all being drilled from a multi-well pad on the northern end of Section 3.
And why doesn't Phoenix utilize this plan?
This plan, the wellbores would cross federal minerals that are unleased. And so in order to cross them, we would need a federal APD. In order to get to that point, that is many, many years in the making in order to get a federal APD. And as Mark mentioned, this is just not on our time horizon in order to develop it in this manner.
At the last hearing, there was some discussion about development of sections 3 and 10 as a 1280. Has Phoenix considered that option for developing this area?
Phoenix has considered that option. 2-mile laterals in this side of the field are very challenged from an economic standpoint and don't really meet our hurdles for deploying capital to this unit. So we would, if that was the decision, we would just leave the unit undrilled and we would move to other units in the basin.
Okay, now moving on to Exhibit B, please discuss what Phoenix is hoping to do as development in this proposed 4-mile drilling and spacing unit, spacing unit.
Yes, so 7B depicts what we could do in a reasonable time frame. As Mark mentioned, we would slide this up on our drill schedule if we could drill it in this manner. This avoids the trespass of federal land and allows us to drill 5 laterals of varying lateral length, but somewhere between, call it 3 1/4 miles and 3 1/2 miles. And that would allow us to develop this unit in a timely manner, not requiring a federal APD in order to execute on this drill plan.
If this proposed unit is not drilled, do you think that the lands will be drilled in the near future by Phoenix?
I do not, nor anyone else for that matter.
And isn't Phoenix wanting to develop this 4-section proposed spacing unit in conjunction with its other activities in the area?
That's correct. We would likely spud this pad, if approved, by the end of this year.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 8, using the reservoir parameters discussed by Nick on Exhibit 5, please discuss the well economics in this proposed 4-section spacing unit.
Sure. Our estimated well economics based on a 4-mile type curve are approximately 33,000 barrels of oil a month and a well life of 28 years, with an oil EUR of 535,000 barrels, a gas EUR of about 1.1 BCF, given a drill and complete cost of approximately $11.5 million at today's commodity price environment. We're looking at a gross PV10 of approximately $13 million, an IRR of 15%, and a payout of about 3.5 years.
Does the varying length of the wells that you described on Exhibit 7B, are they affected, the economics affected by the varying lengths?
Only slightly.
Enough to be significant as to Phoenix's decision to drill?
3 miles, yes. Once we, as I previously just mentioned, moving to 2 miles would drop the rate of return so that the cost on our capital would not be worth it, and we would find other areas to deploy our capital that make more economic sense.
And why doesn't the varying length of the well bores affect the economics you discussed on Exhibit 8?
Largely because of the sunk cost. You've already drilled the vertical section and spaced the vertical section, so the incremental cost to drill a different lateral in a relative sense minimal to the total cost of the well.
And is Exhibit 9 the gas capture affidavit that Mark discussed?
Yes, that's correct.
I would ask that Exhibits 6, 7A, and 7B, and 8 be admitted into the record, and 9 has already been admitted into the record.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Brandon, on Exhibit 7B, do you plan to drill all 5 of the wells at the same time to batch drill and complete those?
Yes, that's correct. We would drill and batch them.
Okay, and Tom got at it a little bit, but your economics are for 4-mile laterals. I would assume that you've ran those internally for your 3.25 to 3.5 mile laterals to determine that they're still economic?
Yeah, they're approximately the same. The rate of return goes up just a little bit to save on a bunch of exhibits for all of the different lateral lengths. I just put the 4-mile lateral economics.
And a 15% rate of return and a 42-month payout is still economic for Phoenix?
It is.
Okay, thanks.
Tom, do you wish to incorporate the case record 30336?
Is that the case number of the first one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Brandon, does Phoenix have or anticipate any issues with getting these wells to TD with the extended length?
No. We are in talks with drilling contractors that have already drilled wells that are in the 3.5 to 4 mile lateral lengths. A few of them being in this basin in particular.
And I didn't see it listed in your Exhibit 6. How many stages do you have planned for these?
It would be, let's see, 80 quarter, about 100 stages. We haven't finalized our completion design there yet, but approximately 100 completion stages.
Thank you.
Brandon, what does it take to put the federal minerals into a drainage situation to get them leased?
Drilling at least one well, I think is enough to push the Fed to do something. Drilling one well for us is pretty uneconomic. We don't realize any of the cost efficiencies on the drilling side, or the facility side. In addition, drilling one well would cause the Fed to start moving, but they move very slowly. They likely wouldn't get it leased for probably 5 to 10 years once they go through all of their processes. That's also really a non-starter for us as it relates to this unit. We would likely just walk away from it.
So what are you basing your estimation that it takes 5 to 10 years to put it in a drainage situation, get it leased?
Just based on our experience from leasing federal lands before it going through the process before from our land team.
Is that in North Dakota?
I think that encompasses other areas as well.
Because I'm aware of wells that have been drilled up in the Lostwood Wildlife Refuge area that are drilled across federal acreage, and I don't know that they were put into a drainage situation 5 to 10 years ago.
Fair enough. Again, that's our anticipation since they are unleased, that in order for them to go through the process, especially given current litigation around federal leasing, that the timelines for getting a lease done and across the finish line such that we could apply for an APD, which would also take 12 months, 9 to 12 months, is really in the 5 to 10 year time frame. That's our assessment.
So who's going to pay for those drilling costs for the unleased federal acres?
I believe we are going to have to,
at least to start. And then, as you mentioned, once we drill the wells, that will kick off the leasing process for them to try to lease it. And then whomever will end up leasing it, we would have to go to them for their share of payment. If they get leased at all, for that matter.
So do the wells to the south in section 27 put this acreage into a drainage situation?
I'm not a petroleum landman expert, nor as it relates to, especially as it relates to federal stuff. So I'm not sure, sir.
So I assume as a reservoir engineer, you would be involved in making that determination to try to get those leased?
Yes, I mean, from a reservoir engineering standpoint, those wells in 27 are technically not draining section 22 or those federal tracks, so likely that would be, they haven't been triggered to be now leased since they're being drained.
So how do you put a tract into a drainage situation? You can't penetrate it.
Sure. So, to the best of my knowledge, and again, I don't know the federal rules as it relates to this process, but that you would drill a well that is next to it, such that you're fracking into it and you are now draining it without penetrating it, and now the minerals would go through that process. The unleased minerals would go through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 306.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a couple follow-up questions with both Brandon and Mr. Johnson in response to Mark's questions.
Okay.
Brandon, first question, do you anticipate forming or executing a communitization agreement with the BLM for the Section 22 federal acreage?
Yes, we would.
And it's your understanding that the BLM would receive royalties under that communitization agreement?
That's correct.
And would Phoenix obtain that lease if it was put up for nomination so that you would own the working interest for that land?
Yes, we would attempt to.
Okay. No further questions for Mr. Allen, but I do have some questions for Mr. Johnson on the drainage issue that Mr. Boer talked about.
Any questions from the staff?
Mr. Johnson, you heard Mark's questions regarding the wells in Section 27 perhaps causing the lands in 22 to be subject to a drainage problem. Did you hear those questions?
I did.
Have you discussed that issue with the BLM with respect to obtaining a lease on these lands?
Phoenix did speak with the BLM, and they told us the wells in 27 did not put the lease in 22 in a drainage situation at this time. Nor did they give us what would put it into a situation of drainage, but they said the wells to the south did not trigger anything for them.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Mark, do you know if you could get an answer from them as to what would put it into a drainage situation?
I believe I could follow up with them, yes.
Okay, if you would, please, thank you.
Do you want that answer submitted to you, or just want us to find out what it is?
Well, I think I'd want it submitted so I know what it is.
Okay, do you want it submitted as an exhibit in this hearing? If so, just give us some time so we...
Yeah. Yes, please.
How long do you think you need?
Month?
a couple weeks, probably.
Okay,
Okay, so what's,
2 weeks. Make it on a Friday.
Yeah.
March 8th?
Okay, does that work for you, Mark?
Yes.
We will leave the record open in this case until March 8th. And that concludes our hearing for case number 30696. Case number 30697, application of Dakota Energy LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Diamond, Clearwater, Vanville, Niobe Bakken Pool to establish overlapping stand-up 1920 acre spacing units described as sections 112-13 and section 211-14 and section 310 and 15 and sections 23, 26, 35, Township 159 North, Range 90 West, Burke County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on each unit. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30697. Case number 30698, application of Dakota Energy LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Noonan Bakken Pool to establish a stand-up 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 162 North, Range 95 West, Divide County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on each unit. This case has been continued to the March hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 30698. And moving to the supplement, case number 30714. On a motion of the commission to consider the proper spacing for the development of the Bar Butte Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, redefine the limits of the field and enact such special field rules as may be necessary. This case has been continued to the March hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 30714, and that concludes our hearings for the day. We are off the record at 10:13